Okay, so the first one we just divide by 5, so that would be x equals 3. Next one, subtract 7, so y is 43. And then last one, times by 4, so c would be 32. So the mode was the most common result. So this is 4. The median is the middle number when we arrange the numbers in ascending order. So 2, 4, 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 15. So the median will be between 8 and 10, so that's 9. And this is just the mean of 8 and 10, so this is what we would write down. And then the range is the largest number minus the smallest, so that would be 13. To find out which section has the highest chance of being chosen, well, that would be the largest sector, so that would be D. And then so the next part is which two sections have an equal chance of being landed upon, so that would be E and A. For the color, when there's 3 different colors, red, blue, and green, and they all have an equal chance of being landed upon, because there's 4 reds, 4 blues, and 4 greens. So they all have the same ratio. So it would look something like this, where each angle is 120 degrees. And then that would be for the numbers. These also have an equal chance of being chosen. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the angles will be 90 degrees. So the reel is 9.5 meters, and then 2 pieces are then cut out. So those 2 pieces will have a combined length of 40 centimeters. So the remaining length will be 950 centimeters minus 40. And then that will just be 910 centimeters. This can also be written as 9.1 meters. And then times 5. We know that the first term is 4, so we need to work out the third term. So the second term will just be 4 minus 1, 3, then times 5, which is 15. And in the third term, so we just do 15 minus 1, so 14, and then 14 times 5, that's 70. And working out for this is 4 minus 1 times 5, and then 15 minus 1 times 5. The rule for this one is add 20, then divide 2. And to get the first term, we just go in reverse. So 50 times 2, and then we do 100 minus 20. And the answer is 80. So her home is going to be 7 kilometers away. Person stays in for 15 minutes, as the difference between 10:35 and 10:20 is 15 minutes. This one, we know that it takes the person 20 minutes for the person to go to the supermarket. So that means it takes the person 23 minutes to come back. So that means when they leave at 10:35, they'll arrive back at 10:58, which is shown in this yellow line. He gets basic pay for working 25 hours. And then he gets extra pay for hours worked on top of the 25 hours. The basic pay will be 25 times £10, 10 pound 20, which is £255. During the weekend, he works a total of 5 hours. So 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is 3 extra hours, and on Sunday 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., which is an extra 2 hours. So 5 times £11.80, which is £59. So this is the basic, and this is the extra pay. And then the total will just be 255 plus 59, which is £314. The total mass will be 60 plus 70 plus 85, 215 grams. A fifth of a kilogram is 200 grams, and a quarter of a kilogram is 250 grams. So we can say that this 215 grams is between 200 and 250. So we can say 1/5 of a kilogram is less than 215 grams, which is less than a quarter of a kilogram. This one is sometimes true. Because if it's a right angle triangle, then one of the angles will be 90 degrees, but not all triangles are right angle triangles. So it won't always be the case that one of the angles will be 90 degrees. So, for example, if it's an equilateral triangle, then all the angles will be 60 degrees. Um, so this one's sometimes true. It's sometimes true. If one of the angles is obtuse, which is between 90 and 180 degrees, then the other two angles have to be acute. It's not always the case. For example, if in the case of a right angle triangle, none of the angles are obtuse, and in an equilateral triangle, none of the angles are obtuse. But there can be some triangles where one of the angles is between 90 and 180 degrees, and the other two angles are therefore less than 90 degrees or acute. This one is never true. A reflex angle is an angle more than 180 degrees. None of the angles in a triangle can be reflex or more than 180 degrees, as the sum of the angles inside the triangle always add up to 180 degrees. So it can't be the case that one of the angles is more than 180 degrees, because that would just mean it's greater than the total. This one we add up all the indices, as this is a multiplication. So this one would be 2 plus 1, so which is 3. So p cubed is the answer. This one we collect the like terms, so 3a minus a will be 2a. 5c plus 6c is 11c. The ratio of the angles is 2 to 7. So there's 9 parts. That means that each part will have a value of 360 divide 9, which so 40 degrees. So each part has a value of 40 degrees. The larger angle will therefore be 40 times 7, which is 280 degrees. C is greater than 4 and D is less than 4. We can choose an arbitrary value for D as long as it's less than 4. So assume that D is 3. That means that C must there be 9, because the difference between them is 6. Another possibility is to say that D is 2 and therefore C is 8. As long as the difference between the two is 6 and D is less than 4. So if we write this as an equality, for W this will be 1 is less than W, which is less than 2. For X this will be 0 is less than X, which is less than 1. The sum of W and X is 2.6. So if we go for an extreme value for W, such as W equals 1.9, then that gives us some leeway for choosing an X that's less than 1. In order to satisfy the plus X is 2.6. So if we say W is 1.9, then X will be 0.7. If we can demonstrate that this angle is the same as 105, then that would mean that A, B, and CD are parallel. But in this case, it's not, because this angle will be equal to 95 because it's opposite, the angles that are opposite of each other. So this angle will be 95 degrees, and if AB and CD were parallel, then this value of 95 degrees should have been the same angle here. But these two angles aren't equal. The answer is no. AB and CD aren't parallel. 5a equals 20. This will be an equation as we can solve this for a. If we can solve something for the value of an unknown, such as a, then that would be an equation. An equation is where we can work out the value of an unknown. For the next one, for b is greater than 20, this is an inequality as there's more than one possibility for the value of b. In this case, b will be more than 5, so it could be virtually any number greater than 5. And an inequality is anything where the unknown has more than one possible answer, whereas in an equation, the unknown has one specific value. The next one, 2c plus c is always equal to 3c. This is an identity as, so if you get the value of c, double it and then add it onto itself, the answer will always be 3 times the value of c, irrespective of the value of c. So this is an identity. So the small bag will have a mass of 496 divide 8, 62 grams. And then we also know that 5 small bags and 2 large bags have a total mass of 638 grams. So 5 times 62 plus 2 large bags equals 638. So that's 310 plus 2L. LB is the mass of a large bag. And then when we solve for L, L will be 638 minus 310 divided by 2, which is 164 grams. The areas are the same, so if we work out the area of the triangle, that will be half times 12 times 16, as it's just following the formula, which is the base times height divided by 2. So that would be 96 square centimeters. And then the length of the rectangle will be 96 divided by 7.5 as length times the height or the width equals the area of a rectangle, which in this case it's 12.8 centimeters. So for the linear sequence, this will be it's minus 3, 1, 5, 9, 5, 9, 13. As a linear sequence is one where the difference between terms is identical or is a constant number. So in this case, minus 3 to 1, that was plus 4. And then 1 to 5 is plus 4. 5 to 9 is plus 4. And 9 to 13 is plus 4. And so where the difference between terms is always the same number, that's the linear sequence. And for Fibonacci, this one will be the 4, 5, 9, 14, 23 sequence, as the way the Fibonacci sequence works is that the next term is the sum of the previous two terms. So in this case, it's, for example, 4 plus 5 is equal to 9, which is this number here. And then to get the next term after 9, you do 9 plus 5, which is 14. And then the next number after 14, which is 23, that's the sum of 14 and 9. So the way the Fibonacci sequence works is that the next term is the sum of the previous two terms. Because the number of hedgehogs will decrease by 4% each year, that means the number of hedgehogs will be 96% of whatever the number was a year ago. So there's 1 million right now. That means in 1 year's time, there'll be 96% of 1 million. But because we need to work out the expected number after 5 years, then we'd raise the 0.96 to the power of 5. This relationship follows a exponential decrease, as the number of hedgehogs is related to the number of hedgehogs there were a year ago. So there's an exponential decrease here. And whenever there is an exponential involved, then we'd always raise the number of years will always be the power. So in this case, it's 5. The 0.96 refers to the fact that because the number of hedgehogs goes down by 4%, then 96% will remain, and 1 million is the starting number. This gives us 815,370 372. Cuboid A will have a surface area of 6. If we assume that each face has a area of 1, that means the sum of each of the individual faces of both of the cuboids minus 2. Because if we focus on this top cuboid A, we can see that the base of the top cuboid A, it is not exposed because it's sitting on top of the bottom cuboid. And likewise, for this bottom cuboid, the healing face of that cuboid is also not exposed because it's essentially being covered by the top cuboid. So the answer is no, because there are two unexposed there are two unexposed surfaces in cuboid B. And we can go ahead and actually work out what the relative surface area is of B. So for B, it will be, because there's two less there's two less exposed surfaces, then that would mean that the relative surface area of B will be 6 plus 6 minus 2, which is 10. So the ratio, so when completing this sentence, we can go ahead and elaborate by saying what the relative or what the ratio of the surface areas will be of surface area B or A to B is 6 to 10, and we can simplify this further, which will be 3 to 5. When we put in x as minus 2 in the equation, then that would be minus 2 squared, which is 4, and then 2 times minus 2 is minus 4, so they cancel out. So the coordinate would be minus 2, 0. When we put x equals 1, that would be 1 squared, which is 1, and then 2 times 1 is 2, so that would mean the y coordinate would be 3. So when x is 1, y is 3. To draw the graph, we need to draw the U-shaped curve, which would look like this. The ratio of money saved to the ratio of the money that's given is 2 to 5. So there's 7 parts in total. So each part of money will be 2,450 pounds divided by 7, which is 350 pounds. So that means that the total amount of money given is 5 times 350, which is 1,750 pounds, because there are 5 parts of money that's given and each part is 350 pounds, and then this money is split equally to the 4 brothers. So each brother will get 437 pounds 50. Because this number, 437 pound 50, is greater than 430 pounds, we can answer yes to the question. When we draw the pie chart, the angle for Friday is 80 degrees. The angle for Thursday is 25 degrees. That means the angle for Saturday will be 255 degrees. As all of the angles need to add up to 360 degrees. The first information we can draw from or conclude from this is that F over T, or if we said it another way, F is the number of people that came on Friday, T is the number of people that came on Thursday, and S is the number of people that came on Saturday. So that means, based on this pie chart, the first thing or the first conclusion we can draw from this is that the ratio of F to T is 80 degrees over 25 degrees. And when we cross multiply, this, we can say that 25F is 80T, and we can simplify this, so we can say 5F equals 16T. So I'm going to call that equation 1, because there's still another piece of information, and that is that the question says that there were 132 more people on Friday than on Thursday. So we can write that as saying F equals T plus 132, and I'm going to call that equation 2. To work out the value of S, we first need to know the value of F or T, and then we can use the rule of proportions to then work out the value of S. As long as we know what the value of F or T is, because we know that the relative values of S, F, and T relative to each other based on the angles, we can then scale up accordingly and then work out the value of S. So if I put equation 2 into equation 1, then what we get is this, be 5 times T plus 132 in brackets equals 16T. And then I'm expanding this out, so that would be 5T plus 660 equals 16T. And then solving for T, that would be T is equal to 660 divided by 11, which is 60. So that means that there was 60 people on Thursday. Now we know the absolute number of people that came on Thursday. We can then scale that up to work out the number of people on Saturday. The reason being is that the angle for Saturday is 255 degrees and the angle for T is 25. So that means that S is equal to 255 over 25 lots of T. And this is 10.2. So what this means is that the number of people on Saturday was 10.2 times larger than the number of people on Thursday. And we know that the number of people on Thursday was 60. So 10.2 times 60, so 10.2 times 60 is 612. The answer is 612. If we focus on the angle given, and we know that side X is going to be opposite, and we know that the side of 46 centimeters is adjacent to 58. So we're given an opposite and we're given an adjacent. So we can use tangent in this case because if we go through SOHCAHTOA, we can see that we're given an opposite and we're given an adjacent, so we focus on tangent. So tan of 58 is equal to opposite over adjacent. So opposite is X and adjacent is 46. And then to rearrange this for X, that would be X is equal to 46 times tan of 58, 73.6 centimeters to three significant figures. We need to round each number or each decimal to one significant figure. So one will just stay as it is. The first decimal that we need to focus on is the 8.34. So if we round that to one significant figure, that would be 8. Because if we look at the next number, or the next digit, which is 3, then that's less than 5. So we'd round that to 8. And then the next decimal number, which is 10.21, when we round that to one significant figure, that would be 10. So when we do this calculation, that would be 1 over 40 is 0.025. Reason for this one is that for the denominator, both decimals, we rounded them down. So for example, for the 8.34, we rounded that down to 8. And then for 10.21, we rounded that down to 10. So the situation is that when for the denominator, the estimated value that goes in the denominator will be less than the exact value for the denominator in the equation. If we just rewrite this again, so the actual calculation was 1 over the cube root of 8.34 and then squared times 10.21. So in this case, the 8.34, we rounded down to 8. And then for the 10.21, we rounded down to 10. So the situation is that for the estimated denominator, will be lower than the true value of the denominator if we didn't round this. So that means when we do 1 divided by a smaller value, because we rounded down, then that will artificially inflate the value of the estimate, because we're doing 1 divided by a smaller value. So the denominator of the estimate calculation is smaller than the actual denominator as we rounded both decimals down. So the effect of that, therefore, the reciprocal of the of this, so of this estimate number will be inflated or greater than the actual, as the smaller the denominator, as the greater the reciprocal. So this is a lengthy explanation, and in reality you'd write this in a more shorter form, but the gist that I want to get to is that we worked out the estimate for the denominator that was less than that was less than what the actual denominator would have been, because we rounded both the decimals down. And so that means that when we work out the reciprocal of this, then 1 divided by a small value would give you a larger number. To factorize, we need to work out two numbers which multiply to give 15 and also add to give 8. So 2 factors of 15 which also add to give 8 will be 5 and 3. So the numbers that go inside the bracket will be 5 and 3. To do this, we just flip the signs. So y plus 2. So plus 2, that means that one of the solutions will be negative 2. And you have a possibility, well, we have minus 4. So if we flip the sign, then that would be positive 4. So that would be y equals 4 or plus 4. So the meaning behind this is that, because when we multiply these two brackets, we get 0. So that means that either the first bracket, which is y plus 2, or the second bracket, y minus 4, must be 0. Either one of those two brackets must be 0, or both of them might be 0. So if we say that y plus 2 is 0, then that means that y must be minus 2. Or if we said that y minus 4 is 0, then y must be 4.